I love all the fancy stuff. Hey, Julian, we went to that fancy tapas place at Cosmo once, right? Where they put the fucking gold on all the food.
Yeah, I was like amazed. I didn't know where the fuck we were going, and we jump in a limo with you, and we end up at this place that they're throwing gold on top of my tacos. I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, only in Vegas.
But didn't we go to my favorite dive bar before that? We went to Double Down.
Double Down Saloon. Yeah, we had some ash juice.
I am all about. We had some ash juice. Yeah, baby.
That's my friend. He'll take me to the Divus bar in Vegas, and then he's gonna take you to eat gold afterwards. I mean, it's a real mixture I got going on here. I love it.
And also, like, the food and beverage, the gambling, all the stadium swim, the sports book. It's focused on everything to me that's what's supposed to be Vegas.
Yeah.
That's what Vegas is supposed to be. That's why you go to Vegas. Like, who the fuck cares that Gordon Ramsay opens a new restaurant? Like, who really cares? Okay? And I love Gordon. But do you really, really care? I mean, he opens restaurants everywhere.
Gosh, Michael, he's your people. He's your people. If you're going to shit on somebody, you should shit on Giada. At least she's from Italy, Come on. You don't shit on your own people.
No, I'm not.
Poor Gordon.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back to another episode of Vegas Confessions. I am back with my beautiful host and wife, Kelly.
Hi, welcome.
And today we are excited. We got a special friend on the line with us, and, we wanted to talk about Vegas, obviously. And, we've had so many different questions on social media about, is Vegas changing? Obviously, with the fights and the shootings and everything that's gone on, we'd figure this is a perfect opportunity to talk about it. So on this special episode, we're going to have our good friend Michael Trager on. Michael, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing? Thank you for doing this phone call so early in the morning. I mean, do you have your coffee? Do you have your coffee right now, or Red Bulls already?
I got a water. I did get a water to start off, but coffee will come right after. We've got to get the kids up and ready for school afterwards. But no biggie. We're looking forward to doing this. We're glad to have you on from across the pond to talk some Vegas, our favorite place in the world.
Yeah, it's actually. I think, what's so interesting with this whole pandemic is that I'm feeling in some ways more emotional about how special Vegas is than I ever did before. I almost feel like maybe I was starting to take Vegas for granted a little bit, and people, I've heard other people say that, like, oh, Vegas doesn't do it for me anymore. And I never was exactly there, but I'm feeling really emotional about Vegas this year.
And that's why I think doing this and doing the YouTube work recently for people to actually see Vegas, because there's a lot of people in your same plate who are missing Vegas, want to go back, but won't go back, have a lot of questions like, hey, is it safe? Is it worth going to? Especially people who have to commit like you to, head over from across the pond. And we decided, hey, we have a family trip coming. So with that being said, we thought, how's this trip going to differ? Are we going to have more precautions going in, not only to the coronavirus stuff, but also to having the family with us? So, and being that, so many people had questions online about, how's it changed? Is it worth going? We figured we'd chat a little bit about that and see, what your thoughts are and how we take a different approach if we do. Babe, do you think it is too dangerous to be in Vegas?
No, I don't, honestly. Like, if you take a step back and you're looking outside in, if you're following the same precautions you would at home, I mean, we our older kid, Sydney's at Georgia right now. She still goes to practice. Like, she only has one hybrid class right now, but she's in the dorms. She still does practice with her teammates. She's out but she is limiting. Our older son is doing football practices, and even though his classes are online, he still has some interaction outside, and you just have to make the proper choice to be as safe as you can, wash your hands quite a bit, things like that. But I don't think it's like, oh my gosh, don't go into the casino because you're gonna get the virus. I don't think it's like that.
Well, and then there's the other hand of it, Michael, with, everything that's gone on lately, the fights, the people getting jumped and robbed on the Strip, and it seems like predominantly it's on the Strip that this is happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think this all started from my tweet, like a week ago, and I'm like, I have so many things going through my head about all this. Yeah, I mean, touching on the COVID stuff, I believe it's really serious. I believe that you need to be extremely diligent, but I also believe that there has to be some balance there. And I don't know the right answers here. Right. I mean, hey, I want to be a Vegas expert, not an infectious disease expert.
Exactly.
I have no desire at all to be, an armchair, physician. But, I think, as I was saying to you a little bit before the program, we've modified as a family, as a couple, our behaviors a lot.
Yeah.
That means we go out. We seldom go out anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We do. London does have indoor dining, if you want it. But we've chosen that, hey, you know what? The less that we're out, the better. We've always done grocery delivery. We are pretty much still 100% grocery delivery. I've not been in a grocery store, I think, since 2019. So, I mean, nice. we do kind of, and I'm sort of fanatical about, like, organization with that. And we're foodie people who love to cook. But, a lot of times we do get lazy. And you'd be like, hey, I want to go out to Nando's. I just want to get a quick dinner. I don't feel like the dishes. I don't want to deal.
Yeah.
But we just don't do that anymore because we feel, probably better not to go out. And I actually admit, probably slightly irrational to act like that, but that's what we do. And we do have really good, I mean, one thing about London that's amazing is we have got killer food delivery options, like anything you could fucking dream of. Like there's an Italian gelato place. Just delivers gelato. Like all they do is gelato. I mean, also like ladies and gentlemen, my favorite cocktail bar. They deliver cocktails.
No way.
Amazing.
That's awesome.
So you can so it's like, oh my God. And you can go on Deliveroo and you'll be like, oh, I'll order my cocktails from here. I can order gelato from here. I can order this from here. Like, I mean, you get we are not fucking hurting here at all. But anyway, I understand that part of that is a little bit irrational behavior. I did go to the casinos when they opened in London.
Yeah.
I felt really, really, really safe there.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go into that too much, but I put a video on YouTube about my experience with Steve, who's my co-host on ZorkCast.
Mm-hmm.
But, my thing has always been, is a little bit of a less is more kind of person. So I've chosen that I'm going to do fewer things than I used to because just by law of averages, I want to be in less contact with people indoors. That means I don't want to go to grocery stores and I don't want to go to Nando's. But I do want to choose the things that are really important to me. And something that's really important to me and being safe while it being important is going to the opening of Circa.
Yeah.
Or being in Las Vegas when it reopened. So yes, I'm taking a risk. Those are indoor spaces. I have to be diligent, but I'm not taking as many risks all throughout the day. I'm limiting my risks and I'm making choices. And I know some people might tell me I'm crazy for that. And they'd be like, you shouldn't be at any indoor spaces or places with people, but I'm not willing to do that. I'm willing to be safe. And I think realistically, in the UK, kids are going to school. Some people were going back to offices. They're not anymore. You have to be careful. And I'm just as diligent, with travel. I'm not taking extra trips that I don't need to take. I'm not going out of my way to go to stores and things like that. So that's sort of how I've come to terms with it in my mind. And I know some people don't agree with that, but I think it's okay. And that's what I can live with. And of course I'm crazy. I've got all my great hand lotions that are antiseptic and I've got my face masks and I've got all of the, and I've always been, honestly, I am a closet germaphobe. I've always I'm the person who goes to a restaurant. I have a huge bladder. Not that you need to know that, but I never have to pee. I seldom ever have to pee, but I'm always go to the bathroom to wash my hands. Like I go to a restaurant after I've traveled on public transportation most of the time. Even before COVID, the first thing I did was go and wash my hands. Right. I just felt like I had to wash my hands because I was on public transportation. And, I've always been really good about those kind of things because I thought that was really important. So, I mean, that's how I feel. I mean, I don't know. How do you guys, do you sort of feel that way? I mean, we have definitely altered our behavior from day to day.
So we've mentioned it here before in the last couple of episodes is we've been to Vegas pretty consistently and we've been pretty safe. And yeah, it's one thing we've noticed, just walking around, we'll keep the hand sanitizers on us. Touching the chips, we are very cautious. When we go to eat places and open doors, we always have the hand sanitizer now, and it's become a regular thing. And even the mask, the mask people were making a big deal. We just got used to them. They really don't bug me. I don't have problems breathing. I know every now and then people say, hey, I can't breathe with this thing on, so they take it off. The other part of it is when we're outside versus inside. I usually have my mask off outside when we're walking around and stuff too, if I'm not smoking or whatever. But yes, we've been a little more, would you say, more cautious, Cal, to our approach to things, especially in Vegas, because we don't go anywhere. Right.
And I don't think we've been overly cautious. We're not crazy.
No.
But I mean, definitely, we don't take the kids out if we don't have to.
Yeah.
We don't, go to the parks right now, even because, we don't really want Jackson playing on structures that other kids have had. And especially with kids, they have so many germs. Right. They're not as susceptible to getting super sick.
Yeah.
They can still carry it. And my nervousness lies in, hey, Jackson could have it at any point in time and not have any symptoms. And my parents, who are in their 70s, could contract it and they could get really sick. Because there's so many unknowns still.
Right.
And we've been lucky enough to where nobody close to us has gotten it.
So let's take it into more of the Vegas side of things, Michael. So you got the trip coming up, the opening of Circa, and we've been contacting each other back and forth. We're making plans and stuff. We were excited about the trip, and then, as I got back from my last trip a couple weeks ago, I've been watching a lot of this, nonsense happen, the fights on the strip and all this and that. Is that going to take an effect to where you're planning to book your stay on the strip or any part of your trip in Vegas coming up?
I mean, not really. I mean, I look at it. I think there were things going on. Yes, for sure. There's no doubt on that. But there are a couple of things. First of all, I'm definitely a super diligent person when I'm away anywhere. I'm not going to say I never let my guard down because that would be unrealistic, but I am an ultra fucking paranoid person. I just don't, which is interesting though. I think I play it off pretty well that I'm not that ultra paranoid, so I do a good job hiding it. But a friend and I were scammed really bad in Vegas when I was 19 years old. So that would be 1989. I was robbed at knife point and had my bike stolen when I was 11 years old. I think so I'm and imagine being an 11-year-old kid when someone pulls a knife on you and says, I want your really nice dirt bike. And you're oh, sure, take it. I mean, that's, so I've always, and then the other part of it is, I've got this fondness for Atlantic City, and Atlantic City, the way you're guarded in Atlantic City is totally different than the way you are in Vegas. And Atlantic City's gotten better over the last couple of years, but quite frankly, on the boardwalk, walking between properties, or after you color up late at night at Bally's and stuff like that, I think one of the things I say to people, oh, I hate valet parking, I hate waiting for my car, I love going to the parking, just go to a parking garage and just jump in. I'm yeah, but parking garages are a safety issue, because if you ever look at Atlantic City casinos and the number of places that people have been robbed or jumped or beaten up or anything, probably murdered too, that it's usually in the parking lot. I have heard of very few people up until South Point, I think the other day, of somebody getting murdered at the valet.
I was just going to say, yeah.
I had the best fucking theory here that you never got murdered at valet. And then this had to happen at some point. And I'm like, okay.
Which is true. It's a very true point. Yeah. But realistically, you're very right on that. I mean, if safety is concerned, physical safety, I mean, your best bet is to make sure you're parking in valet.
Well, so here's something me and Michael talked about, and let's backtrack a little bit on what you just shared, Michael, because we talked about letting our guard down. And you've talked about, you take big trips, you're a traveler, you like to go different places and stuff. And especially as when we're in Vegas, like, we're there to have a good time. We're there to gamble, drink, cut loose a little bit, and we're probably more liable to let our guard down in Vegas. So you want to express a little more on that, on, how you try not to let your guard down in Vegas? Because I thought that was a pretty interesting story you said.
Well, some of the stuff, some things are just pragmatic. One of the issues is like in relation to how much money you're carrying on you and relation to gambling too. I don't want to be too drunk and I don't want to be too not aware of my circumstance if I'm really playing that night. Yeah. So that's something I'm very, very cautious about, because obviously it's easy to drop money or be robbed or something like that, especially when you're really, really drunk. So that's something that I'm very, very cautious about. I also, I don't know. I mean, I think, I've traveled a lot, throughout the world, and I'm always a little bit skeptical of people. And I hate this because, like, I'm one of those people that wants to believe all the time that everyone is like a nice, good Samaritan. But unfortunately, I've got a little bit of that New York in me where I'm thinking, like, why is this person being too friendly, or what are they going to try to scam me? And I've been, I swear I must have been scammed once in Atlantic City on something that I didn't notice, or someone took some chips. I mean, definitely when I was 19, and I think I told you about the story where I stayed at Aladdin, and it was the first time I played Baccarat was 19 years old in 1989 in Las Vegas. And yes, the gambling age was 21. and I won like 300 or 400 at Baccarat. And I remember a friend and I wanted to take a taxi to, we were going to Olympic Garden because, of course, being the diligent Vegas person, even at 19 in 1989, before the internet, I had figured out that Olympic Garden was the place that a 19-year-old wanted to go to. I don't know why. And it was hard to figure out that shit back then. We didn't have, remember, we didn't have cell phones, right? Yeah. So that was crazy. And the cab driver's like, oh, I've got a place to take you guys to, which is like 5 times better than Olympic Garden. No idea what that was really meaning. But we like, okay. And he took us to this like super shady strip club, whatever, definitely run by mafia kind of people, where obviously they, the cab drivers were getting a kickback, for everybody they dropped off, getting $50-$100, and they just kept us there for hours, and it wound up costing us hundreds of dollars, which my friend paid because it was his idea to do it, or most of it. And at least I'm going to say that, even if I'm like changing the story, it's so long ago, who knows? And but it was sort of like where we tried to push back, and we're like, that's ridiculous, we're not paying this, and they're like, oh yeah, no, you're paying. You're paying. And I'm thinking, this is some like mobbed up place off of the which wasn't too far from the strip, right. So. And then of course they call you a cab afterwards. You call a cab, the guy who picks you up, and you're going back to your hotel, and you go back to your hotel, and he's like, yeah, so you guys got screwed, huh? Because like everybody knows. And honestly, and I remember this so well, I did call the police and I wanted to try to identify the taxi, but I didn't remember, we didn't have cell phones then. Right. One of the things that I do now this is a great tip for people. It's not such a big deal anymore when you have Uber and Lyft. But what I used to always do when I got into a taxi is copy down the medallion number or the taxi ID, the taxi company, and put it into my notebook on my phone, just in case I left something or something went wrong. I always thought that was a good process. So you get into a taxi and you copy down, like you copy down the guy's name. You know how that's all visible?
Right.
Just put it in your notebook. No, for no devious person, but say you leave something in a taxi, trying to call the taxi companies to figure out which taxi it is, or if you didn't get a receipt. Obviously that, it's funny that I used to do that all the time, but now I don't worry about it. But I have always been, never use back pockets for wallets or anything like that. Smallest fucking wallet in the world, money in one pocket, smallest wallet, phone, I sort of have to deal with sometimes in my back pocket. I mean, I'm really obsessive about that kind of thing. Like the least amount of stuff on me. I believe you should only carry 2 credit cards, minimal amount of ID. You should basically wear the tightest jeans you can. So your money is so it's really hard to get into your pockets. So no loose clothing. When I see people in cargo clothing, it gets me so nervous because I feel like anyone could slip their hand into your cargo shorts and take your money. Where's, actually like today, if you could do it, and even fat guys like me could do it, wear skinny jeans because for someone to put their hand in your fucking pocket, you're going to feel their hand in your pocket because the jeans are so tight. You want it to be where you can barely get the money out of your pocket. Think about it, right?
Yeah,
because that means that someone to take money out of your front pocket is really going to have to shove their hand in there. So
better play with it a little bit.
Oh, goodness.
So I don't know. I have something I'm not sure if I should say or I shouldn't say. Remind me later about the thing that I was going to say that I shouldn't say.
Okay, I will. Okay, Michael, so we all love it downtown, and you're a big fan of Derek Stevens, Golden Gate, the D. Are you excited for Circa, and what are you looking forward to about it?
I am beyond excited for Circa. And one of the main reasons I'm so excited for Circa is because so much of it is about the casino and the Vegas history.
Okay.
Right? Like the Vegas 50 thing. The whole casino floor, like so much is focused on the gambling aspect of it, or at least it seems to me. And also like the food and beverage, the gambling, all the stadium swim, the sports book. It's focused on everything to me that's what's supposed to be Vegas.
Yeah.
That's what Vegas is supposed to be. That's why you go to Vegas. Like, who the fuck cares that Gordon Ramsay opens a new restaurant? Like, who really cares? Okay? And I love Gordon. But do you really, really care? I mean, he opens restaurants everywhere.
Gosh, Michael, he's your people. He's your people. If you're gonna shit on somebody, you should shit on Giada. At least she's from Italy, Come on. Shit on your own people. Poor Gordon.
There's no pumpkin.
I don't want it.
You don't want it. Well, you finished it almost.
Service, please. Pick up. There's no pumpkin in it.
Yeah.
This is like ordering risotto with no rice.
Table 1, VIP, yes? Keith? Yes? How long?
Gordon.
Keith Zone, yes? Let me just serve this table.
Why is there no pumpkin in my risotto?
Right, can you get out of the way? One spaghetti, one risotto? Yes? Oh, are you always going to be that rude and interrupt when I'm trying to talk?
I just want more pumpkin, that's all I want.
Right, well, I'll get you more pumpkin. I'll ram it right up your fucking ass. Would you like it whole or diced?
I love all the fancy stuff. Hey, Julian, we went to that fancy tapas place at Cosmo once, right? Where they put the fucking gold on all the food.
Yeah, I was amazed. I didn't know where the fuck we were going, and we jump in a limo with you, and we end up at this place that they're throwing gold on top of my tacos. I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, only in Vegas.
But didn't we go to my favorite dive bar before that? We went to Double Down.
Double Down Saloon. Yeah, we had some ash juice.
I am all about. We had some ash juice. Yeah, baby.
That's my friend. He'll take me to the Divus bar in Vegas, and then he's gonna take you to eat gold afterwards. I mean, it's a real mixture I got going on here. I love it.
But honestly, that's one of the things that I love about Vegas, and I love contrast. And you know that, like, from, like, Piccadilly in Atlantic City.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know, so great is having the contrasts of these things.
Right.
And I don't, so that's what makes life so interesting. And hey, I love the gourmet dining and all that kind of stuff. But you know what makes Vegas special is the integration of the gambling and the casino, where the focus is the casino. The focus is the action and the energy. And I don't know if you get this when you walk into a casino, but my wife like makes fun of me all the time. My pace picks up immediately.
Oh, fuck.
Like when I get floor, like almost like I'm running, and I don't even know where the fuck I'm running. I don't know, but
the last time I saw you, you're running up an escalator.
Up an escalator,
it was
right?
up an escalator.
Because we hit a hard 4 in Atlantic City.
And I have vivid memories of that one, Michael. Vivid.
Oh man! And to all the new listeners, me and Michael Trager, we were in Atlantic City. All of us, we had a group trip, and we needed a hard 4 on the craps table, and Mike said, you know, if we hit this hard 4, he's sprinting up the escalators that are next to the craps tables. And sure enough, we hit this hard 4, and he headed and bolted, and I went right after him. Oh, there's great video of it. Good times, huh, Michael?
Yeah, no, it is wonderful. But that's just it really, that's the thing to me. If you remove that amazingness of the integration of the casino and like an incredible casino, it just changes it. Like, what's great when you wake up in the morning? You wake up in the morning, you grab your coffee, you go to a video poker or slot machine, you have a smoke and your coffee, and you're in a casino and you're wandering around, and it's just such a good feeling. And I feel that good feeling at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. I feel that good feeling in Atlantic City, especially with the boardwalk sometimes. I feel it in Vegas too. Just that like morning, you know, that time when nobody's around and you're in the casino by yourself and you can wander around and look at the different machines, or maybe you could just like sit down and start playing baccarat, or, you know, it's just amazing to me. And then it's different at night. And then my favorite thing is, like, say you crash early and you're really tired and you crash and you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you just wake up and like, hey, I'm just going to go down to the casino floor. You know? It's just like, and I'm just going to go play craps. Like, some of my favorite, like, crap sessions is being exhausted, falling asleep in Atlantic City early on a night I got there on like a Tuesday or Wednesday night, and then waking up at 2:30 in the morning and going down to craps game and having a pretty much so full craps table. I remember this is one. It was like 3 a.m. The table is basically more than half full. One guy at the other end of the rail has like $80,000 in front of him. This other guy is betting like no 4, no 10 for like $2,000 or $3,000 a pop. It's like, this is awesome. Like, it's like Tuesday night. Also, you know, to me, stories are so great. Oh, this story is so good. So the stories are so great, and this, I swear to you, happened. But the stories are so great because you're like, who the fuck are these people at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday? And there was one guy next to me, and I'm talking to him, and he starts talking. You know, there's always like that. I was stick left. That guy starts talking, and he says, "Yeah," and he's like, "My girlfriend's up in the room." I'm like, "Okay, cool." He's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "You know, she's tied up to the bed." I'm like, "Okay." I'm like. He's like, because we're into that. I mean, this is weird. Like, I'm like concentrating on it. He's like telling, yeah, but she likes that. I'm like, okay. And he's like, well, and she likes to stay tied up for a little while, and then I come down and I play. And I'm like, okay. So, like, you have a certain time. Of course, I'm like trying to pay attention to the game, looking at the other players, and then I'm almost about to say to him, I don't think I did, like, well, when do you determine you go back up to untie her? like
You're all, man, I'm just waiting for this hard 4 to roll. He's all, I'm waiting for this hard 8 so I can take it up to my wife who's tied up.
And she said, don't fucking come back and untie me until you parlay that hard 8.
Oh, that's
Come
amazing.
on, to my wife. She's tied up there.
That's amazing. Yeah, you're definitely right about that, Michael. I mean, so many people, all walks of life, all backgrounds that you can meet that just start telling you their stories when you start playing together.
And what's even nuts is he mentions the people that are playing at these denominations at the crap table. this is the only place you can see this kind of shit happen, is being a gambler. So the only ones who can relate are like your gambling buddies when you sit them down and you're like, dude, check this shit out. And this happened. And they're like, wow, that's nuts. But anybody else, like a buddy at work, they're going to look at you and like, why is that interesting, dude? That's just stupid. Why are you gambling at that time of the night? And you're like, why are we even friends?
Yeah.
So anyway, on to other topics. So is it safe to go to Vegas? Do you need to be diligent? Do you need to be on guard? But, here's the thing, and let's talk about risk, because we're talking about gambling. Yeah. How risky is it really? What is the chance that something bad is going to happen? And before the show, I said to you, I was looking at, it's called Statista. It's one of those like statistics websites. And I was looking at like the total murders in the United States in 2019, because that's such a lovely thing. Data that includes all murders and non-negligent manslaughter. So what did I say to you? It's like bad people doing bad things. Yeah. And I'm looking at this and I'm saying, wow. And I never realized this. I'm like, wow, well, California leads the nation in murders. California, Texas, Florida, Illinois, they're like 1,600, 1,400, 1,100, 800. And then you have to go all the way down to Nevada, and Nevada's like 143 murders. And then all the way down. If you want to be really safe, go to Vermont. 11 murders.
There's like 11 people there.
Yeah. Well, we're not. But I was thinking to myself, and I'm not sure how accurate. I don't know about all of their sources on here, but let's just look at this in a broad stroke. Let's say that, California and Texas and Florida have a hell of a lot of murders, and Nevada has very few statistically. Now, I know we could be saying that more bad people are coming in and more bad things are happening, but I don't think that there's any immense wave of this happening. I think it's more of a blip. The other thing about it that I truly believe is I believe Vegas pivots really quickly. Like, look at Wynn now. They're like searching bags and doing a lot of things.
Did you see that? They're searching everybody's bags now as you enter. There's metal detectors now at a lot more properties now. So, yeah, they're beefing up everything along the Strip. Well, everywhere, I believe.
And it's Vegas. I mean, we've, in Fresno, we've had probably four murders in the last 2-3 months. But it's not headlined. It's not tweeted. It's not videoed. If something happens in Vegas, it's more so to make state or national headlines. Like, oh my gosh, another big brawl in front of Wynn, or downtown this huge fight, erupts. It's more likely to make those headlines just because it is Vegas.
But Michael, you made a pretty good point the last time we talked about, the issues that happened at Wynn and, how they probably won't happen again.
Right.
Yeah, no, and look, I just saw someone just posted a video. Not that anything, this is not, when I say something like this, it's not to mean that one thing is worse and one thing is better, but like Empire Casino in Yonkers, New York, that's about 20 minutes from Manhattan. Yeah. There was a major fight that somebody, recorded on the casino floor there. I mean, this stuff happens in a lot of places. Right. But the thing is, and I'm not saying that there haven't been more occurrences in Vegas right now, but are we really looking at the data like apples to apples with regard to the numbers? And even with that increase, is it really making it that much more dangerous? And then once again, there's the whole be diligent kind of thing. I mean, I'm going to go out on I'm going to leap a little bit on saying that probably Vegas at its most dangerous is safer than walking at 2 a.m. on the boardwalk in Atlantic City.
Oh, fuck yeah. Been there, done that, and I can confirm.
And yet, every day, people aren't posting the videos. I mean, you have some doozies in New Jersey every once in a while at the casino. So I'm not sure. I mean, you do have to be diligent, and you do have to be smart. And I think there are more people. I was saying to someone recently, I said, one of the effects might be, it's true, you've got fewer fly-in visitors, but also the problem is that, the younger people, I could say that because I'm so old, but the younger people, like, I used to say, like, they used to go to the clubs, get like totally shit-faced, and then go back to their hotel room and pass out at 5 a.m. Well, now there are no clubs to go to, right? So people are like sort of like wandering around. They're like getting their alcoholic beverages, drinking those big frozen things, wandering around the strip. Next thing you know, one guy looks at somebody's girlfriend, which would have usually happened in the club.
Right.
You see, and that's the thing too. When it happened in the club, I think it was like contained with all the security in the club. Because remember, this shit's always going down. But,
right.
when it goes down inside one of the clubs, they've got 52 security guys who immediately, take care of the situation. Whereas when it's happening outside on the strip and all of a sudden one guy looks at someone else and someone looks at someone else and they start fighting, well, security isn't right there. Police aren't right there. But whereas like in a club or in a casino, they are right there, because that's what they're planning for. So I don't think it's realistic to think. It's not like, what are you going to do? Are you going to put like a cop on every 8 feet? You're going to put another cop on the strip? I mean, it's not realistic to think you can do that. So
I think that's a great point that you make, Michael, because you're right. Like those things always happen, especially when alcohol's involved and things are going on, but they aren't as out on the open or out in the public as they used to be because the clubs are closed down. So that's a great point. It's always happened in the past. It's just more people and it could be because of the whole COVID thing.
Right.
People have more time to watch videos and make videos that it's being highlighted a little more.
And one thing that's been stressed on is I've heard from casino people. I've heard from people who, just like us, Vegas enthusiasts, podcasters, YouTubers, stuff like that, that it's a different set of clientele right now because room rates are cheaper, all that kind of, and then this is something I keep hearing that's getting repeated. And maybe part of that's true because rates are lower and stuff like that. And people are also saying, oh, well, if they just pick that stuff back up, that'll eliminate the problem. I don't know if that's true in a sense either.
Right. I don't know either.
So there's a lot to be said. But again, ultimately, we wanted to do this, bring Michael on while we had a little free time this morning and chat with him. Michael, we are going to have you come back on so we can talk about, our upcoming trip coming towards the end of the month in October for, the opening of Circa. We have to talk about plans because we're already in a half hour, almost 40 minutes already. We haven't discussed any of the trip. Things looking forward to. You're a huge dice player. I'm sure you would like to play some live dice with us over at the Plaza and live stream.
I am ready for a live stream session.
I'm ready too because I didn't get to participate either.
Oh, guys, we can do blackjack. We can get a tables.
I'm super excited about that.
There's so much stuff we can do. I mean, Michael, I want to thank you so much just for spending some time with us. Again, we will have you on, or we will line something up in the next couple of weeks to get back on here so we can chat about what our trips look like. We, for the first time, will be meeting your wife. And so, I mean, there's a lot that's going to happen.
I'm excited to meet Ellen, yes.
And we're going to be seeing the Circa together. We're going to witness what that's about. Like Michael said, he's excited about it for so many different reasons. We like the sports book stuff about it too, and the pools, but it's a 21 and over.
Yeah, but Ellen won't let me. I tried to convince Ellen. I wanted to get this crazy pink tuxedo, and she told me I couldn't. So
you still got time.
I just want to leave you with one concept, which I think is really important for your listeners.
Yeah.
And I use this concept when I talk about casino stuff, like voodoo math. And we always, in my family, you would always joke about this with me, and the voodoo math to me in the casino is like when you gamble a whole bunch and maybe you have big losses, but you get a whole bunch of comps and you're like, well, I got the room free and I got the food and I got that. Well, how much did you lose? It's like a voodoo math. It's like, yeah, but you're risking this much. There's a lot of voodoo math with risk. And what I tell people a lot of times is I think you really do need to look at this kind of stuff. Like, look how risky, like how many people are getting injured, getting murdered, how dangerous a city is, truly, and just try to look at that stuff yourself and just look at some of the data yourself and step away from the mainstream media. And this is like in relation to like how safe New York is, how safe Cairo is, all that kind of thing. I mean, I think And yes, we maybe do some voodoo math when I look at that, but also sometimes that voodoo math is good for you to say, hey, there are a hell of a lot more murders in California than there are in Nevada. So, maybe I need to be looking at it in the big picture and in perspective, and maybe that's just I'm not saying what's right or what's wrong, but I'm encouraging people to maybe look at the statistics and the data to make themselves feel a little bit more comfortable than just looking at the viral videos.
That's a great point, Michael. And, to add to that, you've got to look at it from all your points of view. Like, if it's has to do with getting the virus, I personally have been twice. One time we were there for like 6 days. The other time we were there for 4. Came back safely both times. In my personal opinion, both times I went, I'm always diligent like you. I, keep my purse close to me. I keep an eye on my surroundings. I'm not a huge drinker, so I'm never like blatantly drunk and just wandering all over the place. But I feel like because of the virus, there's so many less people. I felt safer. I didn't feel like lost in the crowd and, there's too many people and like, just, walking amongst millions of people, at the same time, like I usually feel in Vegas, especially at night.
And there's something to be said about being in the casinos. That's for me, honestly, I feel safer in the casino if I'm drunk and I have $1,000 in my back pocket. And
because there's cameras everywhere.
Well, yeah, the cameras, but there's security around versus being outside wandering on the strip, in a little group or whatever, running into random people. I feel safer in the casino. So, there's that too. I don't know.
And I really feel like maybe one casino was not as safe as it could be. But as far as temperature checks, keep your mask on, hand sanitizing, they were taking the extra measures. So I felt safe there as well. Yeah. So when I took it all into perspective, I don't feel less safe the 2 times I went to Vegas at all, and so I take that all into perspective. And you do, like any other place that you go, you got to watch your surroundings, especially when we're going to take our kids at the end of the month.
Yes, that's just, that's the big part.
I think more so than getting the virus, like human trafficking is such a huge deal. Like I'm going to have my 6-year-old, not on a leash, but very close to a leash. Like he's not going to leave my side because people are snatching up kids faster than anything. So that's going to be my biggest concern.
And also scrutiny. The casinos are under a lot of scrutiny. Gaming is watching them. They can be fined, and casinos have been fined for non-compliance with COVID things as far as I know. And also, and yes, maybe I have a bias because I love casinos, but I also believe that casinos are more apt to correct the problems, and Wynn is the best. They're a great example. But the minute they notice that there are some problems and that people are bringing in more things into the hotel that maybe they shouldn't be, or maybe there are more weapons, or maybe they got tipped off to it, boom, they do something. Should they have done something 2 months ago and predicted it? I don't know. Hard to say. But you know what? There's a problem, and they've taken an action.
That's right.
And most casinos are very good about that. And all we could do is move forward. It's not like they're ignoring the situation. So I think that's a really big point.
And we can't foresee things that happen like that happen to them. You can't foresee things like that. You just try to protect yourself as best as possible
and like he said, they're making the changes along the way. And this is something we've discussed here. We had Jonathan Joss on when we talked to him about making the changes, and he's like, it's been a learning curve. We just have to go about roll with it. So again, everybody's making the changes. It's about the places making the adjustments to make you feel safe, which would make you want to go back. So ultimately, that's why we wanted to come on. We wanted to have Mike on, and if you can't tell, Michael is not worried about, any of the craziness going on in Vegas or COVID. We're all pretty cautious here. So we wanted to do something in the effect of, talking about Las Vegas and is it worth going? Is it worth canceling your trip? Absolutely not. If you're looking forward to having fun and wearing a mask, whoop-de-doo, that's probably the downfall right now, is wearing a mask. The bars are opening back up. They are now allowing up to 250 people gathering, so that's starting to come back into effect. And
if you're a show person, a pool person, or a club person, you're going to want to wait a few more months until those open up.
Yeah.
Other
if
than
that's
that,
your main reason for going,
if you want to gamble, if you want to see the sights, those are good. Yes.
Yeah. 100%.
I mean, a lot of it, just to close out, like last year I took a great trip with John Morris to Cairo.
Yeah.
And I had not been to Cairo a lot of years. And I was avoiding going to Cairo because of safety concerns, which I mostly thought were irrational, but I was doing it anyway. And I had a great time, visited a bunch of casinos in Cairo. But yeah, you know what? When you travel, sometimes when you travel other places, you realize how scary it is.
Yeah.
You know, when you go to any major hotel in Cairo, you know, you basically get stopped before the car or the taxi can pull you in. They search, you know, the vehicle, and then every single hotel lobby, casino lobby, everywhere you go is airport style metal detectors. And,
wow.
you know, and it is unnerving sometimes.
Yeah.
And that does make me really nervous. But, you know, it's like, it's a balance on this kind of stuff. You know, it's really a balance. And I guess, and then at the end of the day, when I started to look at it and I thought, you know what, Egypt really isn't that dangerous to go to, but we all get things in our head. But, you know, you have to do what you're comfortable with. Nobody should do anything that they're not comfortable with, but it is important to look at all the perspectives. And I think we're trying to do that. And I totally respect people's opinions on wanting to possibly be what they consider more safe than me or more safe than you.
Right.
But I mean, we all take chances, you know, and going to the grocery store isn't taking a chance. And I don't go to a grocery store. So, I mean, it's the way life is.
Well, and you mentioned something that's pretty key, and everybody's different, especially with the approach to COVID, which, you know, we're looking forward to getting group get-togethers in the future and hanging out at certain places. And now that we're checking out a bunch of new places, we're looking at, you know, having group get-togethers at certain spots. So, you know, once that all comes back to in effect and everybody starts feeling safer about everything, because everybody is different when it comes to, you know, this COVID thing, which is understandable. So, again, that's why we wanted to take this approach. Not a lot of YouTube channels or people are even talking about, you know, the seriousness of what's going on in Vegas. And even with what's going on, we're still willing on taking our family. We're going to have a good time. It may change things a little, you know, a little bit as far as our plans and how we're going to take our approach to this trip, time on the strip and whatnot during the day and what that looks like. We haven't decided. So we'll talk about that in the future. But again, we just wanted to chat about this with Michael. Again, it's pretty serious. He's going from across the pond to get to Vegas, so he's obviously not worried about it either. And like we said, we're taking the family, and we don't seem like that's too big of an issue. There's still fun to be had, and we've been talking to the kids about it for a couple months, and they're looking forward to it.
And you know your safety standards. You know, it's just like going out when you're at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you have to. It's exactly what you have to do. But this has been a great chat about that, and I hope people see the perspective. And honestly, you know, once I get my hand around it and I sort of look at all of the data and look at things and maybe do my own voodoo math, which I agree, you know, then I can start worrying about our priorities. Is like, is Julian going to parlay a hard 8? Like, because I really want those hard 8s this trip, okay? I'm done with the 4s. I'm fucking done with them. Hard 8s. Just hard 8s.
And Michael, he won't tell you at the craps table that I'm tied up upstairs because I'm playing craps right by you guys.
Yeah. She's not that exciting.
No, not happening. I'm down at the tables.
So
before we head out, Michael, before we let people know where they can find you and your work.
Sure. You can find me at Travel Zork, the Travel Zork website, Travel Zork on Twitter, and also the Travel Zork ZorkCast Facebook group. And of course, ZorkCast is the Travel Zork podcast, along with my amazing co-host. I'll say that again, my amazing co-host, Steve. With Las Vegas, UK.
Nice.
Love it.
And we appreciate. We do appreciate the shout out
fun.
in the last episode, buddy. That was awesome. With Jonathan Jossel, he gave us a shout out. That was pretty nice.
No, that was awesome. Well, thank you again, guys. And I just can't wait for this trip. It's going to be...
Us too. I'm so excited to see you.
Oh, God. This is going to be so much fun.
So,
we're going to have some good stories.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. And I know we're going to be putting a lot of videos together. I know some of the places you like to eat. So we're going to be doing I already know we're going to be doing a lot of traveling around Vegas. Plus his wife's in town. So that's going to be even more fun. So again, Michael, we're going to have you on, and we'll record something in the next week or so about our trip preparations, what we look forward to doing. And we'll have to plan some content out because I know we already got some ideas and share some of that stuff.
Nice.
Oh, good. And I have some ideas with you. Like, I was trying to think of, like, I was reading about, like, some of the places Frank Sinatra ate and like what he had for dinner, and like trying to replicate some of that kind of stuff, like having like a dinner the way Frank Sinatra would have it or something.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Okay. And we have our buddy Saul. He's coming in with like some local spots. He lives in Vegas, and he's like, hey, I want to take you guys to some local spots. So Michael, you're more than welcome to join us, and we're gonna go check out some local Vegas eateries as well.
Nice.
That sounds wonderful. Well, thanks so much. This is, oh my God, it's so exciting.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I got like such boring shit to do this afternoon. But I mean,
It's totally
but
sick.
all I want to do is hang back and like work on my Vegas trip. But that's what's so great about this, right?
Right.
Working on a Vegas trip, because it's not just the Vegas trip; it's the planning of the Vegas trip that is huge. Like it like makes you so happy and so excited.
It
and
gets
then you
that
have
adrenaline going.
Yeah.
It really does.
Awesome. Well, brother, we appreciate the time. We will have you back on soon to chat some more Vegas and what our trips look like for the opening of Circa. We have our friends out for Rocktober. There's going to be so much going on that week, and we are there for a whole freaking week. How exciting. Until next time, Michael, we will talk to you soon. The listeners, if you guys are enjoying this, do us a favor, share this on your social media, follow us on YouTube, check out all the new videos, get a hold of us on our email, and we will see you in the next one. Cheers.
Cheers.